Welcome back to Links with Friends. We're your hosts. I'm Krista. They're not going to say their names.
I don't want ChatGPT to know my name.
I'm
They're
just barely here.
Someone already put your name in to see if ChatGPT knew who you were, and they didn't initially. I'm sure they do now.
Why would you do that? Stop it. Well, this man, I bet, has a couple of ChatGPT entries about him because he was in the news quite a bit, and he has an interesting legal argument all of a sudden.
Sam Bankman-Fried asks court to dismiss most of the criminal charges against him.
That's ballsy, isn't it?
And, you know, I read this. It's, I think that the case here is going to be really interesting. Some of this could have legs.
So his argument, in a nutshell, is being a moral-free piece of trash is not illegal. He phrased it slightly differently, but it wasn't that much. I think he said, like, bad business and... I don't remember, but he basically admitted, "Yeah, I'm awful, but that's not illegal."
Yeah,
and the lawyers were like, "Well,
it was intent. It speaks a lot to intent. It's like, look, you can try to say that I did this. The effective result of this and this was this, but that wasn't my intent." And he might, you know, what was it like? They got $7 billion back out of the $10 billion or something that they were in arrears. They're doing better than the banks were in the 2008 housing crisis. I mean.
But what about all the influence peddling?
Yeah, that was, is that not how it's done, or is that illegal?
It should be.
It should be illegal, but then there's also like the stock trading in Congress.
The reason it's not illegal is because it was to the right people.
Yeah. So.
Which is another reason this might have legs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, intent, though, like, it might change the charge, but, like, you should still be charged, right?
What about changing the code to benefit himself? That's got to be illegal, right?
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
Well, Intel, they had their earnings and they were kind of like, well, it's okay, but it's not what we want. We're on the downward slope. So what do you do then?
Intel plans a fresh round of layoffs and other cost cuts. So,
not as big a layoff this time around, but
still not great.
They have still not found their magic number. And Microsoft may not be laying off anybody else this year, but they are still pinching the pennies to pay those big AI bills.
Microsoft skips salary increases for full-time employees this year. And oh boy, Microsoft people are upset about this. Why? Because Microsoft has actually posted record revenues. Sundar Pichai has also, or not Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, sorry, my bad, that's cardinal sin, is also not taking a pay cut, which people are kind of really upset about, because his, like, the stock part of his pay, he's doing pretty good because that's up. And then the regular part of his pay, which is like $260 million, it's like, hey, you know, I could take a $5 million pay cut and then we can have a small increase. It's not like cost of living's going up, right?
It's all going to AI.
I don't understand how, you know, like if this was happening in France, there would be riots right now. But
someone is going to throw a cookie machine in the lobby. I can't even eat this anymore anyway.
Just throw it through.
Well, SoftBank, they are a startup funding venture capital business, and they put a lot of money into a lot of unicorns right before the unicorn famine.
SoftBank Vision Fund yearly loss once to $32 billion on startup valuation cuts. You know, I think it was probably one of the first episodes of this. I said, SoftBank doesn't make any sense what they're investing in. They could have just paid us like $1 million. We would have saved them so much money, because it would have been, no, let's not invest in that.
Now, they did get some big returns on some of those names, though. So
yeah, but the net return, they should have just not done anything.
Well, but they haven't made any transactions. This is all just on paper.
It's the worst one is always Yahoo. Like, that's the benchmark. You look at Yahoo since the 90s and all of the decisions they made, and if they'd made the opposite decisions of the decisions they made, they would they would be one of the FANG companies, but they didn't, and so they're not.
Well, one company that made some weird decisions a long time ago is MTV, because their name is Music Television, and they decided to get out of the music business. And so they've been dying a slow death but it seems to be maybe coming toward the terminal phase.
MTV News forced to close down after 36 years amid Paramount layoffs.
MTV had a news section? I didn't even know.
You didn't know about MTV News?
Do you think we could go to the corporate surplus auction and get some of their old set pieces and just for the hell of it? That'd
Can
be
we
a lot
get
of fun.
Carson Daly?
Carson Daly wasn't MTV News. It was Kurt Loder and Tabitha Soren.
I don't remember that.
What are they up
I
to
have
these
no
days?
memory
Are
of
they on
MTV News.
Cameo? Can we?
Well, they were far too old to be part of that, and they'd cycled them out a long time ago. But yeah, MTV News was a big deal. It was kind of like news that focused more on the entertainment industry before we had TMZ and
Yeah.
all that business. Yeah, and it was very popular. It was
No,
a lot-
my age of MTV, it was Carson Daly in the top 10 or whatever that was.
but they still had MTV. Like MTV News still operated during that time.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I was only allowed to watch MTV for like that hour before my mom got home. Maybe that's why I don't remember it.
And LinkedIn is, they are also cutting some jobs, but these are some jobs that, first of all, aren't going to affect our American viewers because these were jobs that were already kind of like, didn't matter anyway.
LinkedIn will cut over 700 jobs worldwide as it shuts its China app. When they say worldwide, it's mostly over in the Asia Pacific region.
And it's because China wouldn't let them operate. So they had like the very, very basic, I think a lot of it was just try to get foreign people into China for jobs. But now they're not even going to do that.
Turns out if you work any intelligence service at all, having a LinkedIn profile, not fabulous. Sort of bad.
And another crypto exchange. We sure do see a lot of this, don't we?
U.S. crypto exchange Bittrex files for bankruptcy in Delaware.
Big difference here is they claim they have 100% of deposits.
Yeah.
So they should be able to give that all back, but they will not be able to go forward doing business.
This is actually a better result than I expected, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, if it has to happen, that's maybe not the worst thing in the world.
They endured longer, and they're getting out before they see themselves turn into the villain. At least, unless some skeletons
Yeah.
come out in the bankruptcy files.
Well, they're still going to have to deal with the SEC. But I think that's why they're closing the doors. It's like, well, if we get a big fine,
Yeah.
we're done. So, and we know what we did.
Might as well get out while we can pay depositors. That's good.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Because they say, like, the unregistered securities and operating all those different clearinghouses and stuff like that, they probably looked at it and they were like, yeah, we did that. And over on the West Coast, situation seems to be continuing to deteriorate for local merchants.
T-Mobile departs 2-level flagship store in San Francisco's Union Square. Yeah.
What a beautiful building for a homeless person to take a dump in.
Somebody I went to school with just randomly pinged me in the last couple of weeks. And they've been working out here for one of the FANG companies. And they said that it's getting really dire and they're asking him to come back into work. And he's like, I've saved a year of income. So like, can I just come back and, live in your basement for a while? And it's like, well, I mean, maybe. Okay, sure. It's like, I just want to find somewhere else to work because it's getting really crazy out here.
How
Like,
many times have you been burned by that?
huh?
How many times have you been burned by that?
It works
Yeah,
out sometimes.
It doesn't have to be the basement. It can just be like, hey, is it, can I rent somewhere around there that's really cheap kind of thing? Because the homelessness and like the drug use, and he said that he lives close to wherever he works and it's absurdly expensive, but he's like, oh, it's nice. But he's like, now when I walk there, like there's so many homeless that there's just like this smell, and the way that he described it was unsettling. Because apparently like people are so strung out on drugs that they're just decomposing in the street.
I can't wait for all the YouTube comments telling us both sides of, no, that's not it at all. That's propaganda, and you have no idea.
Engagement challenge. That's what it is. It's engagement rage bait. I don't know. We need the engagement numbers.
And then YouTube looks at it and says, ooh, I don't like that. Looks vaguely controversial. I'm demonetizing.
And it's like, is it really that bad? And it's like all the storefronts are plywood. And it's like, well, okay.
And Robinhood is, I guess they're just amping up the casino, right? Because obviously, if you've done your research and you found a company that you think has a bright future and you want to invest long term and give them your money so that you can get a return on that, obviously you need to do that at 4 a.m., right?
Robinhood launching 24-hour weekday stock trading. I don't think Robinhood is the champion of the people that a lot of people thought
when you're
it
manic
was.
at 3 a.m.
Who's the sheriff in that scenario? And moving on to some terror. Oh no, this is not the security section. I put this in business because this is a
What an
more of a
image.
business thing. And boy, is this bad news.
Leak of MSI UEFI signing keys stokes fears of doomsday supply chain attack. At the time we're doing this, these keys have not been revoked because this is so comprehensive. And the Microsoft mitigation for this has a lot of warnings saying, hey, you need to update your recovery media before you deploy this because your recovery media is no longer going to boot if you don't have this. So if you use these technologies to assure that the stuff running on your computer from the time you boot up to the time you are in your operating system is legit, it's no longer going to be effective.
But what we know from all the previous hacks and leaks of this nature is that there's no chance everybody along the chain will make this update.
Yeah.
No chance. So you could be affected by this, not by your personal computer, but by just a random account that you have somewhere. So enjoy that.
Yay.
It's been a while since Google has stepped into the tablet world. I had a, what was the Nexus?
Oh, yeah.
I had a Nexus 10.
Yeah.
And I liked it, but I was really disappointed that like as soon as that they came out with the next version, the next update, it was like, oh, 30% battery life is gone. It's slow. Everything's broken. And that's going to be the same here.
Google's new Pixel tablet is a $500 slate for the home. Yeah. So what happened in the, like, you gotta give everybody the context for the original Nexus. So when the original Nexus launched, it was against the iPad, which cost a lot, but also cost a lot to make. Apple put a lot of love and engineering and big batteries in it. And Android tablet makers were making the cheapest plasticky piece of crap they possibly could. The Nexus came out. I had the Nexus 13. The Nexus 13 was an incredible piece of hardware. It was good. It showed what Android could be for at least one generation of software. And then they loaded it down with too much crap, and it was generally an awful experience. But for about a year there, it was incredible.
I used mine as an ebook reader after its life was done, and it got to the point where page turns took 2 seconds.
Ooh.
Like, it's just text. It's just text. This looks like it's one of those little home things, but that's actually a magnetic base that you will latch it onto so it can charge there. And it's got a speaker in it, so it becomes like a little audio thing too when it's connected. That's a cool feature.
I'm not sure if it's $500 cool, but it's fine if you're in the market for
I
something
mean,
like that.
what else are you going to get for $500 that comes close to that, right? Does anybody else have a good tablet?
They're gonna
Not
Google's
for 500.
Google's vision for this thing is like the Nest, but it'll be this. And so instead of having a thermostat or controls for literally anything, maybe not even light switches in your house, you walk in the house and you just grab the tablet and you carry it with you wherever you go, and then you put it back on charge. And it controls your media, your climate, your everything.
Well,
Imagining a power outage situation.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to... Well, the thermostat doesn't matter in power outage.
Well, I guess.
automobiles as a subscription is something that just keeps gaining ground, even though everybody hates it. But it does seem like it's going to be the future, and we just going, it's going to be just like our software. What version of the car do you have? Do you want to move up to the next version? How much a month are you willing to pay for that?
Mercedes locks better EV engine performance behind annoying subscription paywalls. Yeah, this is the future.
60 horsepower for 60 a month or 80 horsepower for 90 a month?
I don't like it.
No one does.
Old car is going to just skyrocket in value.
Well, and plus that's the EVs, right? Mm-hmm. So old car is going to be even more valuable because it's not that. And here's an interesting thing. Now, I want to, well, after we do the headline.
FDA clears a smart toilet seat for heart health monitoring.
So you're particularly sensitive to public toilets, you've said many times. Imagine if you're in a public place and you need to use a public toilet and you have to choose between like protecting your data because your phone, right, could hit the toilet and it could identify you with your advertising ID. And then they could use this in a public setting to report to your insurance company or advertise to you. Or
I don't really care to carry around a sheet of aluminum foil in my wallet.
I'm imagining a scenario. You know how like you go to a gas station and like it'll show an advertisement like while you're pumping gas. How long before public restrooms are like that? You sit down on the toilet and it knows who you are and it's like, oh, here we go. We'll show some ads here.
I was working on Bluetooth beacon identifier things 10 years ago. So, I mean, yeah.
It doesn't just know who you are, but you start going and it's like, oh, do you want to hear about blood pressure?
Oh, yeah.
You want to see some diabetic testing supplies?
You seem a little nervous. I'm going to put some nature stuff on here. I'm going to advertise a local trail.
Here's the other thing. Bathrooms, aside from this kind of surveillance, are not allowed to have cameras and stuff in them, right? So how expensive are the electronics in that? How much copper can I scrap out of that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, this is probably not going to be a public toilet kind of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't think. But I like to imagine the worst dystopian version of what this could be.
We didn't do the headline yet.
Oh,
Yeah, we
I'm
did.
sorry. I thought we did.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I just spaced out then.
Smart toilets. If
Yeah.
we didn't. But I think we did.
Now, it's usually my policy to ignore battery stories that are clearly fantasy, but this one was just so insane, I had to include it.
Researchers craft a fully edible battery. This is a proof of concept to say that we don't necessarily have to make batteries from the most caustic materials available. It was not a great battery.
It was a terrible battery. It's riboflavin and what was the other thing?
If it's so edible, why is that dude wearing rubber gloves?
But almost no power. And yeah, like that's not useful for anything.
Isn't a
It's
lemon?
backpacking. It's multitasking. You can eat it and charge your phone.
Isn't a lemon also an edible battery? I mean, come on.
Potato.
Yeah. Yeah, I speak from experience. You can run a clock off of a potato for about a month.
And here's a good sign for me in my world, because I'm anti-console. Simply because I don't want to be a part of that world. And I hate it when they gate off good games, Nintendo, from my enjoyment.
Activision is making more money on PC than consoles for the first time, and the gap is widening.
It's 63% versus 66%
Nice.
this year.
How is that more than 100%?
I think that might be like year over year,
Or people that have one of each?
maybe. No, it was income.
Oh, year over year.
But,
So it was already more.
No, this is the first year that it's pulled ahead. Or the first measurement. I don't even know if it's a year-long measurement. But it's nice to see, and it is almost purely Activision that is doing the PC part of their sales.
That's funny.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got the back. Blizzard.
Oh, Blizzard.
Blizzard is the primary part of their PC sales. Activision's still majority consoles. So the Call of Duty crowd, still mostly consoles. And remember the argument that the newspapers made that said, hey, if you use links to our content on your search results, you owe us money. And Google was like, wait a minute, haven't we spent the last 4 decades you desperately trying to get your links on our search engines? How did we suddenly turn this around? Well, it happened, and it happened in a big way.
New York Times to get around 100 million from Google over 3 years for being able to feature their content.
Does this set a precedent? It seems like it would.
I don't know. It seems like the Google shareholders would be saying, wait a minute, doesn't the AI ruling mean that we can just have AI read the newspaper articles and then post our own AI generated summary, and that's okay under US copyright law?
Not for long. We're definitely already looking at that. I support this because the New York Times has a very easy paywall to bypass. Just don't waste my time with Bloomberg. And Nintendo has a big release coming, which, what does that mean? It means they have to attack their customers as usual.
Nintendo, ticked by Zelda leaks, does a DMCA run on Switch emulation tools, as I predicted they would.
Turns out this game will actually run pretty well on an emulator already.
Yeah, it'll run better than native, which is nice. I know something that I'm going to be trying out on my Steam Deck.
Totally legally, though.
No, it's not I'm thinking of something else. It just reminded me of something entirely different.
Well, you didn't say what you're going to be trying.
Right, yeah.
You meant Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
I got it.
Obviously.
And Spotify is, they're in the business of paying you if someone listens to your song. They don't pay you very much.
Parts of a penny, but
in most cases, depends on how much you invested in that song, right? What if you invested absolutely nothing?
Spotify ejects thousands of AI-made songs in purge of fake streams.
So as we know, they have the click farms. The click farm, what you can do is you can use AI to generate fake music, upload it to Spotify, use the click farm to click on the music a bunch of times, and collect your check.
That's what the whole internet's going to be.
And here's a headline that we've seen like 3-4 weeks in a row. And boy, does it just keep getting worse.
Microsoft could cram more ads into Windows 11, this time in the Settings app.
In Settings? Come on.
We covered this last week or the week before, but there's a lot more detail in this article, so...
I think it was a different location then, wasn't it?
I like the picture of him throwing his computer into the sea.
Yeah, last week it was expanding beyond the start menu, and this is where.
Oh my God. Here we go. Try Microsoft 365.
Oh.
Finish securing your account.
Rack shotgun with malicious intent.
Soon it'll be AI harassing us.
Yeah.
And figuring out our weaknesses to, try to take advantage of us there. And similar to the Nintendo thing, Apple is another company that says, oh, how dare you try to emulate our software? We will destroy you.
Apple loses bid to revive U.S. copyright claims over iOS emulation. This is something we covered, what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago? Where security researchers wanted the ability to do this, and Apple said, we'll totally help you. And then Apple didn't help them. And then the court said...
Now, they rejected the total emulation, but Apple still has some nasty little barbs in these arrows, being the fonts and the icons, which are copyright. And these people had them in the emulation.
But how petty do you have to be to worry about that?
I would say Tim Cook level.
Yeah, and also considering Apple's very much like design-minded like that, of course they'll be petty about it.
Yeah.
And Roblox, before we started doing these stories, I had no idea that Roblox was the juggernaut that it is.
It's hugely popular.
Somebody did a Roblox-related Devember project.
Yeah.
I've never tried it, and I guess I never will, but a lot of other people who might have Roblox subscriptions will also not be able to continue using them.
Goodbye to Roblox on Linux with their new anti-cheat and wine blocking. This is deliberate, it is comprehensive, and it is annoying and frustrating.
So they don't want anything in emulation because that could enable some cheating.
Unfortunately, they're too stupid to detect it in virtual machines, which will do precisely nothing to actually stop cheaters from cheating. This will just inconvenience people that want to use Linux, as is usually the case.
And if you're enjoying all those new cutting edge games that use the fastest graphics, the hottest graphics, the high res textures and all that stuff, maybe some good news, although there's some big caveats with this.
NVIDIA details neural texture compression claims significant improvements over traditional methods. So this will let you get away with less VRAM, right? NVIDIA can sell you a crappier card for more money, right? That's where we're going with this, isn't it?
So it is able to decompress the textures in real time and save from loading all that into the memory. It does not work with a lot of existing technologies, so I think they got a long way to go with this. And TurboTax. We've been talking about this since at least 2017.
Yeah.
Like the rule is you don't have to pay to have your taxes done if you make below a certain amount of money. If there's services that are available for you, these companies are part of that system and they take payments for that system to give you a free alternative, but they do everything they can to hide it from you.
TurboTax to begin payouts after it, quote unquote, cheated customers, the New York Attorney General says. The cheat was they basically tricked people that didn't need to pay into paying to have their tax return done online.
But they also took the government money to provide the free payment for the low income people. So they double dipped in the worst kind of way. Now, interestingly here, you don't even have to sign up. They know who was affected and they're going to get in contact with you.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised that actually worked out the way it did.
Well, it hasn't worked out yet.
I guess, yeah, there could be a catastrophic failure somewhere still.
They could fumble that badly. And it seems that Google is really feeling the economic pinch, right? Because their search is threatened. They're not the leader in AI. The economic downturn, they're shedding people. So what do? You take the Microsoft approach.
Gmail is starting to show more ads, including in the middle of email lists.
Ew.
That's how I feel about YouTube anymore. Like, you ever look something up on YouTube and like it just shows you like 3 results for the thing you're looking for, and then a section of just like videos you've already seen or some other random topic.
Remember when Gmail wouldn't show you ads if you bought $5 of Google Drive? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Now, these float to the top, which isn't quite as bad. It's still terrible, but the desktop version, they're just nestled in there.
Ugh.
I mean, that's what this person gets. Look at all these unread mails. Unsubscribe.
It's all garbage.
And the Olympics, I guess we're going to... Where's the Olympics this next time around? It's next year, right?
I guess.
Or is it?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm not real hip to the Olympics. I don't think most people are, and that's why this is happening.
Well, there's only one Olympic sport that matters, and that's female curling. But there are going to be a bunch of new ones. And, you know, the old argument, is this a sport? I guess we're at the point now where everybody agrees it is.
Fortnite is headed to the Olympics as an official e-sport. Okay.
They also added like chess, and there was like a virtual tennis game.
Wii Tennis? No.
No, it wasn't Wii Tennis. It was something else.
Gran Turismo, Just Dance, Zwift Cycling, Web Chess, baseball, sailing, taekwondo, and tennis virtual somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know who makes
these. Are
those.
all video games.
Is that can I play the Olympic taekwondo? How does that work?
I don't know. It's all VR. They accidentally punch each other because they're on the same mat.
And Disney Plus, I am ashamed, desperately ashamed to say, because of my parents, I'm a Disney Plus subscriber.
Ew.
And this is going to suck because I have to just deal with this.
Disney planning to combine Disney Plus and Hulu into a single app by the end of the year. What are you talking about? You'll get free Hulu.
Not free.
Never free.
They're raising the price.
Yeah.
I can't remember how much it was. A couple dollars, right? A month.
Once I finish some other random stuff, do you want to be added to old people free Netflix with Green Acres and Mr. Ed and I Dream of Jeannie?
You're pushing that data over the internet?
I can.
You know what? Kindle Unlimited just raised their price too. And I got Dad a Kindle. I got him Kindle Unlimited. And I went and checked the account. He's never used it. So I was like, I'm canceling this. And we talked about Spotify earlier. I should put these together. And one man who would know how much he gets paid from Spotify, because he gets a lot of streams, I'm sure, and he is not happy about it.
Snoop Dogg goes off script on streaming platform payouts and viral rant. Can someone explain to me how you can get several billion streams and not get $1 million? He needs to call up Taylor Swift. She'll figure it out for him. Basically, you take out the middleman, and then, yeah, he can get $1 million from 1 billion streams.
He wasn't even necessarily talking about himself, though. He was talking about smaller artists who will get tons of streams, and he was like, it's not fair if you're a new artist starting out that you don't get paid for the work you're doing.
The cost of the Spotify platform should be tiny. Most of the money, like 90% plus, should be going to the artist. That's the world that we should be in. There is no technical reason we cannot be in that world.
Well, if you say copyright law is a technicality.
No, I mean, you can fit within the copyright laws to be able to do that. It's just that the people that sort of put themselves in the middle between artists and everybody else, they won't do that because they don't get as much of the money.
But like the copyright law created the music label system when the media dictated it. And we still have that.
Yeah.
And they're still in charge because they control the copyright.
They're still in charge, but it's still possible to do things on your own effectively. Whereas in the past, it was impossible to do anything on your own effectively.
Well, one thing that is impossible to do effectively is to secure a WordPress site.
WordPress plugin hole puts 2 million websites at risk.
It's advanced custom fields, which I think is a very widely used plugin. Gives you a little bit more functionality because WordPress kind of, eating the crayons type of thing. And
that's such a kind way to put it.
And one of their functions uses some administrative privileges, and cross-site scripting could exploit that.
Fun times.
And we are forced in some cases to give up our data to big tech companies and horrifically to healthcare companies. Like the few times I've had to go to a hospital and they're asking me all these questions, I'd leave a lot of stuff out. It's like, why would you ever need to know this? You know, I understand there's a medical history, but yeah, I'd rather you not have it. And this is why.
Next Gen Healthcare says hackers access personal data of more than 1 million patients. Yeah, can confirm. Health things don't. Health organizations don't really care. And most areas, like even an acupuncturist has state and federal laws they have to comply with. And I can assure you, they don't care. They're not going to comply with state and federal laws to protect your data because they can't afford it.
Now, the good news here, they point out, is that there was no actual healthcare data. Only name, date of birth, address, and social security number.
You don't use that for anything important, right? So.
And no one could use it against you.
Absolutely not.
Call spam. I think I might have gotten through this entire week without a spam call.
Wow.
I think so too. I don't think I got one.
Is that because that one organization shut down? That would be impressive.
Maybe. But maybe that also explains this, because if those callers can't go through on the traditional phone lines, they're going to go into the apps.
Truecaller aims to help WhatsApp users combat spam.
I was a little bit vindicated here because it turns out that mostly this is in Pakistan and India, who's victimizing us. So it's like, well, at least you get to suffer the same as we do. Actually, more statistically.
I think there's any introspection. It's like, oh man, I've been doing that to the Americans for money.
Absolutely not.
Well, yeah, and also if you're desperate for a job, are you going to turn it down because you're bothering someone? I mean,
yes, I would.
I don't think you would.
I would not work in a call center.
If you had no other options.
There's always another option.
That's dark.
That is dark.
That's something you can always count on the level 1 show for, is to just immediately just
straight down into the hole.
I didn't say what it was.
I didn't say what it was earlier either.
And this one turned out to be not quite as exciting. It's not the Jared. It's just someone who, for some reason, chose the username.
Oh.
User accidentally sends $1.5 million in Bitcoin to quote unquote Jared from Subway. And he politely asked for it back.
Think how many $5 footlongs you could get for that.
So Jared from Subway, who again is not the Jared from Subway, it's just a user who had the name Jared from Subway, was on a Discord, and he tracked him down, and he actually gave him back all but 50 grand.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
I mean, it's expensive, but it was a lot. And, you know, I think 50 grand is a fair takeaway there.
How did he justify that when he was like, I'm keeping 50 grand?
It wasn't even one transaction. Oh, you mean, well, because there's no law that says, you know,
it's under the amount of money a lawyer would get involved and you would come out ahead.
There's no fraud. He didn't do anything. Money fell into his lap. And so he's not required to give that back. So he was being a bro there. I mean, he probably didn't know that he would get sued or something and it would be a pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, he probably picked a number. It's like, oh, what do I think I can get away with? And he was right.
Wow.
But the guy who sent it originally, it wasn't one transaction. He kept
doing it.
He
Yeah.
kept sending. He didn't send $1 and then check.
Oops.
Or $50,000 and then check.
And Ubiquiti had an internal mole causing some problems, and we have now finally gotten to the end of that whole saga.
We were first reported this like 3 years ago. Ex-Ubiquiti engineer behind breathtaking quote-unquote data theft gets 6 years in prison. This is the engineer that leaked all the data and reported on the hacker forums. Like, hey, I've got all this data. And
he tried to get a ransom.
Yeah.
He had a crazy defense. So this is a man who stole the data, tried to ransom it back. When they refused to pay the ransom, he released it to the public. His defense was that was just a, what do you call it? Unsanctioned security drill. He was just white hatting that just to test them. I don't know how you would say
cool alibi, still data theft.
Once you leak it to the public, how does that factor into it? Is that just like a harsh
6-year
lesson?
prison term? But also, I bet Ubiquiti's doing some things different internally now, so maybe some good did come of that.
I would hope so, but I mean, based on what we've seen from the other companies, I don't know.
Ubiquiti was supposed to be the chosen one.
Well, that's it for our program today. We'll be back on Friday with nonsense and more AI stories. And are there any other sections or just those two?
We have one space story.
Oh, rip. All right. We'll see you then. Bye.